Benjamin Šeško is back. And this is not the same Šeško people were writing off earlier this season. Not the hesitant striker, not the raw project, not the player people decided they had figured out after a slow start. This is a different version. A stronger version, a calmer version, and a far more dangerous one. Because right now, at Manchester United, something has shifted. Quietly, relentlessly, decisively. 5 goals in his last 6 appearances. Late winners, pressure moments, cold finishes when the game is on the line. While the noise still focuses on what he was not earlier in the season, inside Carrington, the conversation has already moved on. This is no longer about potential or patience. This is about impact. And if you think this run is a fluke or just a purple patch, then you are missing the bigger picture. Because this version of Šeško is starting to look like the striker United were actually waiting for. Don't believe it? Then look at this. 5 goals in his last 6 appearances. Not spread out, not padded by easy minutes. Delivered when games are hanging by a thread, when margins disappear and pressure does the talking. A goal every 48 minutes during this run. Off the bench, cold, unforgiving. No rhythm handed to him. No warm-up period. Just impact. While the headlines still frame his season as a slow burn, the reality is far sharper. Šeško is no longer waiting for matches to open up. He is forcing them open himself. Late against Fulham, 94 minutes on the clock, he spins, creates separation, and finds the top corner like a striker who knows exactly where the goal is before the ball even arrives. Then West Ham, 96 minutes, 1 chance, 1 movement, 1 volley, game rescued, quietly, efficiently, decisively. And while the wider conversation keeps circling his early adaptation period, something else is happening underneath the surface at Manchester United. The role has changed, the confidence has changed, and Šeško's presence at the end of games is starting to feel inevitable. This is no longer about waiting for him to arrive. He already has. This season was never supposed to explode from day one. It was always going to be a process, a long one, a demanding one. A £66 million striker arriving in a new league, under a new coach, inside a system that asks its number 9 to do far more than just finish chances. Pressing, holding shape, sacrificing touches for structure. At Manchester United, that learning curve is brutal. There is no hiding place. Every missed chance gets replayed. Every quiet game gets magnified. And early on, the questions came fast. Is he ready? Is he too raw? Is he another long-term project? But here is the part most people missed. The club never panicked. The plan never changed. Because this was not about short-term noise. It was about timing. And now, as the season turns and the margins tighten, the same striker who was being eased in is suddenly being trusted when games need deciding. That tells you everything. This is no longer about development. This is about what happens next. Yes, the start was cautious. Yes, the goals did not come flooding in straight away. And yes, the injury slowed everything down just as momentum was building. A knee problem. 6 weeks out. Rhythm gone before it ever fully arrived. For a striker at Manchester United, that is dangerous territory. Silence invites doubt. And doubt at this club grows teeth very quickly. The noise got louder. The comparison started. Other forwards settled quicker. Others looked sharper. Others looked ready. But here is the difference. Šeško did not disappear. He did not sulk. And he did not lose trust internally. While the outside conversation questioned his readiness, the staff focused on recovery, timing, and control. No rush, no panic, just precision. Because the quality was never the question. The only thing being managed was when to unleash it. And here's the scary part. Benjamin Šeško has never been a steady scorer. He has never been the type to drip goals quietly across a season. He scores in waves. When he finds the net once, he rarely stops there. Confidence turns into momentum. Momentum turns into fear. And defenders start backing off half a step earlier than they want to. You have already seen the first signs. One late winner, then another decisive moment, then another goal when the game is slipping away. This is how it always starts. And if this version of Šeško is truly unlocking himself now, then the rest of the league has a problem on its hands. Because when his runs sharpen and his timing clicks, games tilt very quickly. Don't believe it? Then look at what happens next. Since joining Manchester United, Benjamin Šeško's first season has followed a very clear pattern. Not chaos, not confusion, phases. The opening phase was about integration, new country, new tempo, new tactical demands under Ruben Amorim. A striker asked to press first, occupy centre-backs, and create space before he ever thinks about scoring. With no full pre-season, every appearance was about learning the rhythm rather than imposing himself on it. Then came the interruption. Just as he started finding his feet, the knee injury arrived, 6 weeks on the sidelines. Momentum paused, confidence tested, United struggling for goals in his absence, pressure building with every passing week. And now comes the ignition phase. A change on the touchline, a change in timing, a change in purpose. Under Michael Carrick, Benjamin Šeško stopped being viewed as a long-term solution waiting to mature. He became a weapon. Instead of carrying the game from the opening whistle, he was held back, studied, saved, introduced when legs were heavy and spaces began to open. That decision changed everything. Suddenly his profile made perfect sense. 6'5", rapid over distance, fresh against tired defenders. When he enters games now, backlines drop instinctively. Centre-backs stop stepping out. Full-backs hesitate. He is no longer waiting for the game to open. He is the reason it opens. Now look closely at the moments themselves. Not the celebration, not the noise, the details. Fulham, 94 minutes. One touch to set the body. A sharp spin across the defender. Balance never lost. The finish bent into the top corner with no panic and no hesitation. That is not instinct alone. That is rehearsal. Then West Ham, 96 minutes. Ball arrives awkwardly, body slightly open, defender tight. He adjusts in a split second and volleys across goal like time has slowed down just for him. Again, no rush, no snatching, just clarity. These are not scrappy striker goals. These are controlled finishes under maximum pressure. The movement beforehand matters just as much. He does not stand still and wait. He drifts. He pins one defender, then attacks the blind side of another. He creates separation before the ball is even played. That is the difference. Because when a striker starts scoring like this, it tells you something fundamental has clicked. Confidence is no longer borrowed, it is owned. This is where the impact goes beyond him. Because Benjamin Šeško is not just changing scorelines, he is changing how games finish. When he is on the pitch late, matches stretch. Defensive lines sink. Clearances turn rushed. At Manchester United, that matters. With Brian Mbeumo leading the line, United get flow. Short combinations, movement between the lines, control in settled phases. But when Šeško enters, the entire equation shifts. Suddenly, the opposition cannot hold a high line. Centre-backs stop stepping into midfield. One long ball becomes a threat. One diagonal run forces two defenders to track. That creates space for others. Midfielders arrive later. Wingers receive facing goal instead of with their backs turned. Second balls start dropping in dangerous areas. Šeško does not need 10 touches to influence a match. His presence alone stretches the pitch vertically. 6'5", explosive over distance, and brave enough to attack crosses and loose balls without hesitation. Šeško's resurgence does not just add goals, it restores balance. When he is available late in matches, Manchester United no longer have to force solutions. They stop chasing patterns that are not there. Opponents feel it immediately. They stop pressing as high. They defend deeper. They leave more space between the lines because they are terrified of what happens behind them. That single adjustment changes everything. Midfielders get time on the ball. Switches of play become easier. Crosses arrive earlier instead of being delayed. United stop circulating possession for the sake of it and start attacking with intent. And this is the key point. Šeško does not just score the decisive goal, he creates the conditions for it to happen. He alters defensive behavior before the ball even reaches him. That is the mark of a striker who is no longer learning the league. It is the mark of one who is bending it to his presence. And only now do the numbers start to matter. Because once belief is established, the data stops feeling forced and starts feeling inevitable. 5 goals in his last 6 appearances. A goal every 48 minutes during this stretch. Scoring 5 times from just 1.5 expected goals. That is not volume shooting. That is efficiency. That is a striker finishing chances other players miss. At Manchester United, this is exactly the profile they were missing earlier in the season. Not someone who needs rhythm to score, but someone who can arrive cold and still deliver. This is why the recent run feels different. These are not numbers built over long spells of control. They are numbers built in chaos, in moments where one action decides everything. And that is when elite strikers separate themselves, not over 90 minutes, but in the final 5. So no, this is not the same Benjamin Šeško everyone was writing off earlier in the season. This is a striker who has found his moment. A striker who understands when to move, when to wait, and when to strike. A striker who no longer needs the game to come to him. If this version continues, if the confidence holds and the role stays clear, then this does not stay a short run. It becomes a pattern, and that is the warning. Because when Šeško clicks, he does not fade in and out. He takes over stretches of a season. Games tilt, defenses retreat. Late goals stop feeling like surprises. At Manchester United, this is no longer about patience or promise. This is about impact. And the rest of the league is starting to realize it.